Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Nur Aisya. I'm a third semester student majoring in English Education Department, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education from University of Mataram. So today, I would like to present the materials about one of the branch of linguistics. Yeah, that is a sociolinguistic. In the world of linguistics, a branch that attracts the attention of many researchers and language lovers is sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics studies the close relationship between language and society, unpacking the complexities of social interactions that shape the way we speak. From dialects to language varieties, sociolinguistics delves into the layers of culture and social structures that shape the unique patterns in everyday language use. By combining elements of linguistics and sociology, sociolinguistics opens the door to understanding how language is not just a means of communication, but also a reflection of identity, social class, and cultural diversity. Let's explore this fascinating world, where every word creates an imprint on the complex map of human society. The first materials is about the definition and basic concepts of sociolinguistics. First, the definition of sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is an interdisciplinary field that studies the relationship between language and society, examining cultural norms, expectations, and contexts. Understanding why people communicate in different ways and social situations. It focuses on understanding language, social purpose, and how it expresses meaning. Sociolinguistics combines insights from disciplines like linguistics, sociology, psychology, and anthropology. It posits that language is variable and changing, making it not homogeneous. Historical sociolinguistics examines the relationship between changes in society and language over time, such as the frequency of the singular pronoun during date documents. Basic concepts include speech community, community of practice, variation, prestige, and language change. Understanding language attitudes is crucial for promoting linguistics diversity and social harmony. 2. The basic concepts of sociolinguistics. So, I found that there are 5 basic concepts of sociolinguistics. The first is speech community, or in Indonesia we call it komunitas penutur. So, a speech community is a group of people who use language in a unique and mutually accepted manner, sharing linguistics norms and expectations. To be part of a speech community, one must have communicative competence, which can be in multiple languages. These communicatives can exist within large communities, examining the relationship between socialization, competency, and identity. They can emerge from various groups with shared norms and ideologies, such as villages, countries, political or professional communities, or groups of friends. Understanding speech communities is crucial for understanding language, variation, and social context. Second is prestige, or in Indonesia we call martabat atau wibawa from the language. So, prestige is a sociolinguistic concept that refers to the level of respect given to a specific language or dialect within a community, relative to other languages or dialects. It is closely related to social status and can be divided into overt and covert prestige. Overt prestige is the positive value assigned to a language or dialect by the dominant group, while covert prestige is the positive value assigned to a language or dialect by a non-dominant group. Prestige is crucial for understanding language variation and the social meanings people assign to language and its users. It can be applied to smaller linguistic features such as pronunciation or usage of words or grammatical constructs. The third is community of practice, or in Indonesia we call it komunitas praktik. So community of practice, or COP, is a sociolinguistic concept where individuals share a common interest or passion and learn from each other through regular interaction. COP can be formed around any profession, hobby, or social issue. Members engage in joint activities, share information, and develop resources. COP emphasizes the social nature of language learning and use, providing a collaborative and participatory context. It can also have significant implications for language policy and education, promoting linguistic diversity and intercultural understanding. Fourth is variation. Variation refers to different ways of expressing the same thing in language, such as pronunciation, word choice, morphology, and syntax, influenced by social characteristics like ethnicity, religion, and education. Sociolinguistics analyze variation using statistical methods, exploring its role in social class categorization. And the last is language change, or in Indonesia we call perubahan bahasa. So language change is a sociolinguistic phenomenon, involves the evolution of language features over time, affecting pronunciation, word forms, syntax, and meanings. It occurs through learning, context, social differentiation, and natural usage processes. Two main types of language change are sound change and borrowing. Understanding language change is crucial for preserving linguistic diversity and promoting intercultural understanding, impacting language policy, education, and social integration. The next materials is about language, gender, and language varieties. First is language, gender, or in Indonesia, we call penggunaan bahasa berdasarkan jenis kelamin. So, sociolinguistics studies how men and women use language differently. Research indicates consistent differences, but explanations vary. For example, Holmes and Stubb in 1997 suggests women are better listeners and use certain speech strategies. Dror in 1998 notes boys use standard syntax less than girls. Slobin in 1996 mentions women using emotional expression more than men. And Holmes in 1995 claims women's speech is more polite and conservative. And the difference between women and men in everyday conversations are, the first is men tend to interrupt women more. Second, men may curse more. And the next, women are generally more communicative and gossip more. And women often talk more with each other, while men may speak more comfortably in public. Next is language varieties, or ragam bahasa. Language variety, also known as slang, is a specific form of a language or language cluster, including languages, dialects, registers, styles, and standard varieties. It avoids the confusion of identifying distinct languages or dialects. Linguistics use language variety as a cover term for overlapping subcategories categories of a language, such as slang, argot, jargon, register, and idiom. Variation at the lexicon level is also considered a variety. First is jargon. Jargon is a language used in a specific context, often in trade, profession, or academic fields. It is distinguished by its special vocabulary and different meanings, which may lead to misunderstandings. Jargon is technical terminology involving terms of art or industry with specific meanings. Its creation is driven by precision and efficiency, but can also lead to higher comprehensibility, which can be used as a trade-off or a means of social exclusion or aspiration. For example, in several advertisements or in the field of trade in Indonesia, like the words aku dan kau, suka dan kau, dan apapun makanannya, minumnya tetap teh botol sosro. So this is the example of jargon. The another jargons like mechanic groups or workshops have experienced expressions like roda gila, didongkrak, dicas, dibalance, dan dipoles. Masonry and building groups have expressions such as disikat, diekspos, disiku, dan ditimbang. Those are called jargon. Next is argot. Argot is a secret language used by groups to keep conversation private to prevent outsiders from understanding their conversations. It can also refer to specialized vocabulary in a particular field. Victor Hugo described it as the language of misery. Some examples include Verlan and Le Chevron. For example, the word bangku merpati, it doesn't mean the literal word, but it means orang yang bertindak sebagai mata-mata polisi. The other examples like in the prison world, the word cepot, it means tools for smoking. Gupon means prison cell. And kepala sarang, it means a gang leader. Next is register. Register is a variety of language used for a specific purpose or in a social setting. In formal settings, people might use prescribed grammar and more formal words. There is spectrum of registers rather than distinct varieties, and scholars use various terms like ditype, genre, and style to describe language variation. For example, when speaking in a formal setting, an English speaker may be more likely to use features or prescribed grammar than in an informal setting, such as pronouncing words ending in and ing with a velar nasal instead of an alveolar nasal. Example, walking, not walking. Choosing more formal words like father versus dad, child versus kid, and etc. And rewinding from using words considered non-standard, such as ain't. The another examples of registers like according to fields, like the first is the word operation used by doctors, pickpockets, and public transportation drivers has different meanings. And the word control used in football has different meanings with the word control used in management. Next is slang or bahasa gaul. Slang refers to low register words and phrases used by specific groups like teenagers, musicians, or criminals. It helps establish group identity and may exclude outsiders. Originally associated with disreputable people, slang has evolved and is now used more broadly. For example, the word low-key, it means diam-diam. Tea, it means that bukan teh, but bergosip. Flexing, it means pamer, atau orang yang suka pamer. Be, it means pacar, terus orang yang kita sukai. Slay, slay, it means anggun. And in Indonesia slang, they are baper, galau, mager, slow, and etc. And the last is idiom. An idiom is a phrase or expression with a figurative meaning different from its literal one. There are thousands of idioms in all languages. Over time, some idioms' literal meanings have changed, leading to figurative interpretations. For example, spill the beans originally had a literal meanings related to floating in jars of beans. And the other example of idioms like a piece of cake, it means gampang or something that very easy to do. And also there is be in someone's shoes. It means trying to position ourselves in someone else's situation. And comparing apples to orange, it means comparing something that is incompatible or cannot be compared. Next, we talk about Lingua Franca, Pidgin, and Creole. First is Lingua Franca, or Bahasa Perantara. So, Lingua Franca is a language used for communication between people from different linguistic backgrounds, originating from Italian and Frankish. It is also known as bridge language, common language, trade language, auxiliary language, vehicular language, or link language. Historically, it was used for trade, cultural, religious, diplomatic, and administrative purposes. In Indonesian, it's called Bahasa Antara, combining bahasa or language and antara or intermediate. A language can be declared a lingua franca if it is recognized by the wider community. The characteristics of lingua franca, the first is widely developed and used for communication between diverse groups. One example of a lingua franca is English. This is because English is widely used by the entire world community as a means of communicating in trade, politics, and science. Besides English, examples of lingua franca are Chinese, Arabic, and Spanish. Malay is also designated as a lingua franca in South Asia. It was established as a lingua franca because Malay is widely used in several countries in South Asia, such as Indonesia, Brunei, Malaysia, and others. In certain regions, the lingua franca may also be the national language, like Urdu in Pakistan or Mandarin in China. Next is Pidgin. So what is Pidgin? Pidgin is a simplified language resulting from interactions between speakers with different native languages. It emerged in multilingual situations to fulfill a social communication function. Examples include Chinese Pidgin English and East Papuan English Pidgin. There are some aspects to consider about Pidgins. The first is linguistics aspect involve second languages and contributor languages. Social aspects arise due to language contact between Europeans and non-Europeans. Historical aspects involve interaction between groups with different languages. There are over 100 Pidgin languages worldwide, influenced by European languages like English, Spanish, and French. Melanesian Pidgins such as Tok Pisin in Papua New Guinea are notable examples. In Indonesia, Pidgin often appears in tourist or trade areas, like using Pidgin English in Bali to communicate with foreign tourists. For example, several places in the Bali tourist area speak to foreign tourists in Pidgin English. The basis is English. the pronunciation is adapted to English, like masas, it means message. Tosan, it means thousand, and etc. And also found in sentences such as buy me sir, it means belilah pada saya tuan, or you want to move, artinya Anda ingin pindah. To clarify the question of Pidgin, let me give one more example. Take this example. Me and you come from different regions. Moreover, I speak language A, while you speak language B. Instead of using language C or an intermediate language, we both develop a new language, language AB. Language AB is a combination of my language and your language. From this example, the difference between Pidgin and Lingua Franca or intermediary language is clear. Suhardi and S.Pd in 2005 write that Pidgin is a language variety that has non-native speakers. The Pidgin variety is often found in third world countries that have been colonized. A well-known example of a Pidgin variety is Bislama Pidgin in Vanuatu. Next is Creole. So Creole is a language derived from a Pidgin that becomes the mother tongue for a group with diverse backgrounds. Creole languages globally share grammar similarities. So there are development reasons or alasan pengembangan this Creole. The first is emerge when native people and immigrants with different languages come into contact. And the second is many Creole languages developed during the European colonial expansion in the age of discovery. The examples of Creole like English Creole, Bislama, Tokpisin Creole, etc., French Creole, Portuguese Creole, Spanish Creole, and Dutch Creole. So Creole languages have faced stigmatization but have gained recognition, with some having official or semi-official status in certain regions. So I will give you another example of Creole example containing the previous Pidgin example. So it turns out that as time goes by, you and I have to coexist, either as a couple or friends in a struggle. The AB language became known by our neighbors and spread to the wider community. One day, AB became the mother tongue of one generation and was passed on to the next. Like you and me getting married and have a kid, and this is AB language become our kids' language. And this stage, AB is no longer referred to as Pidgin, but Creole, which is a Pidgin language that has native speakers. According to Krida Laksana, on the island of Java, there is a Creole used by the Chinese community, which utilizes Malay vocabulary with Javanese grammar and phonology. Other examples of Creoles are Tokpisin in Papua New Guinea and Papiamento in Aruba, Curaçao, and Bonaire. Now we talk about the last materials about language maintenance and language shift. First is language maintenance, or how to maintain language or how to preservation language. In Indonesia, we call cara melestarikan bahasa. So language maintenance refers to the continued use of a traditional language by a speech community, preventing it from shifting to another language. If language maintenance doesn't occur, it can lead to language death and language shift. Maintaining a minority language is crucial for cultural preservation and identity. There are several factors affecting language maintenance. The first is cultural identity. When a language is highly valued as a symbol of ethnic identity, it is more likely to be maintained. For example, the Hebrew language in Israel was revived and preserved as a national language. Second is community interaction. Proximity and frequent interactions among families from the same linguistic minority group can help maintain their language. Third, contact with the homeland. Immigrants from a linguistic minority group who maintain contact with their homeland are more likely to preserve their native language. Fourth, endogamy. Marriages within the same linguistic minority group can facilitate language maintenance. Fifth, formal settings. Using the minority language in formal settings such as schools and worship places can promote language maintenance. Sixth, extended family. Extended families living together and using the same minority language can contribute to its preservation. And the last is institutional support. Support from institutions like education, law, administration, religion, and media can significantly impact the success of language maintenance. Measuring language maintenance. To measure the maintenance of a language, several factors can be considered. The first is the status of the language indicated by the attitudes of speakers toward it. And the next, the size of the language speaking group and their distribution. And the extent to which the language enjoys institutional support. Example of language maintenance. One example of successful language maintenance can be observed among the Chinese ethnic groups in Penoyang, Banda Aceh, Indonesia. These groups have inhabited Aceh for centuries and continue to speak Mandarin or Hak in their daily lives. They have passed down the language to their children, ensuring its preservation even as a minority group. The ability of Pinayong's children to speak both Mandarin or Hak and Aceh pays to their effective language maintenance efforts. Next is language shift. So language shift is a phenomenon where a speech community transitions from using their native language to speaking another language. This shift usually occurs as a result of the majority language displacing the minority mother tongue language over time. So there are the different of language shift in different communities. The first is migrant minorities. Migrant communities often experience language shift, with individuals switching rapidly between languages. This can be challenging as reactions to code switching are often negative, particularly in monolingual majority communities. In places like North America and Britain, attitudes toward code switching can be less favorable. In contrast, in regions like New Guinea and East Africa, where multilingualism is common, code switching is more accepted. Over time, the language of the wider society displaces the minority language, which may take several generations. The example of migrant minorities in Indonesia, like Cirebonese migrant minorities, initially maintain their native Cirebon dialect in Jakarta, but as they interact with diverse linguistics, they gradually reduce their use to adapt. To preserve their cultural and linguistic identity, some form communities in Jakarta, allowing them to maintain their vernacular. Next, non-migrant communities. Language shift is not exclusive to migrant communities. In non-migrant communities, language shift can occur when the dominant language, often associated with better economic opportunities, becomes a necessity. For instance, in the modern era, the new paradigm dictates that fluency in English is essential for securing good jobs and improving one's quality of life. Consequently, the importance of the English language in today's globalized world cannot be overstated. The desire to secure a good job and improve one's life can lead to language shift. Third, migrant majorities. In cases of language shift within migrant majorities, the shift is typically towards the language of the more powerful group. The dominant language is seen as a symbol of status, prestige, and social success. This shift happens incrementally as the functions of the minority language are gradually taken over by the dominant language. While it's relatively uncommon in Indonesia, the concept of migrant majorities can be observed on a broader scale. For example, when European settlers arrived in America, they became a migrant majority, displacing the Native American Indian tribes. The settlers brought their own language, English, which eventually became the dominant language. Unfortunately, many Native American languages face extinction due to the tragic events of history. However, some tribes like the Wichita have made efforts to revitalize their languages. So there are some factors contributing to language shift. The first is economic factors. The pursuit of employment opportunities is a significant economic driver of language shift. In English-dominated countries, for instance, individuals learn English to secure well-paying jobs, leading to bilingualism. Next is social factors. When a community sees no compelling reason to maintain its ethnic language, language shift can occur, especially when a minority group moves to a region dominated by a different language. Next is political factors. Rapid language shift can happen when knowledge of a second language is a requirement for success in a society. Fourth, demographic factors. Resistance to language shift often lasts longer in rural areas, as rural groups are more isolated from the centers of political power. Rural communities can meet their social needs in their ethnic or minority language. The social isolation in rural areas makes language shift hard to be happened. For example, the Ukrainians in Canada which live in village have maintained their ethnic language better than those in the towns. The size of the group's intermarriage and the relation between mother and child can also influence the language shift. And the last is attitudes and values. When a language is seen as a symbol of ethnic identity, or we can say that the people who use the language sees that their language is very important for them, they can maintain it from the shift longer. Because they know that their language is valuable for them and for the next generations. The positive attitudes also help them to maintain their ethnic language and resist the pressure from the majority group who want to change or shift their language. So the conclusion from these materials about sociolinguistics is sociolinguistics is a dynamic field that explores the relationship between language and society. It debunks linguistic stereotypes and promotes linguistic diversity and inclusivity. Language is a dynamic tool that shapes societies, and variation is a natural consequence of human communication. Sociolinguistics highlights the power of language to construct social identities and group affiliations, promoting social cohesion, inclusion, and equity. It is essential for addressing linguistic inequality and promoting language justice, improving language policy decisions, and challenging linguistic discrimination. In language learning, sociolinguistics helps a teacher or learner to determine the description of the language situation in the school environment and the language variation that arise in schools due to community patterns in language use, so that they can apply language properly in the community. Understanding the interplay between language and society is crucial in today's interconnected world. I think that's all from me. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time and bye bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.